Millionaire discovers his maid breastfeeding his baby, Christopher said in a low, shaken voice as he stepped into the room. Rebecca, what are you doing with my child? Rebecca froze. Lily pressed to her chest, her hands trembling. Sir, please, I can explain, she whispered. Explain what? Christopher snapped, walking closer. I leave for 2 days, and I come home to see you feeding my daughter like this. His voice broke between anger and fear. Sir. She would not stop crying, Rebecca said softly. She could not breathe well, she was shaking. And I did the only thing that calmed her. You think this is normal? Christopher asked, his face tight with confusion. Do you understand what you are doing? Rebecca held Lily closer, tears filling her eyes. I know it looks wrong, sir, but she was in pain. She needed warmth, she needed comfort, and she found it with me. Christopher stared at the baby, shocked to see her peaceful for the first time in weeks. Why is she calm with you? He asked quietly. Why not with me? I am her father. Rebecca swallowed hard. Because she feels something from me, sir, she whispered. Something she has been crying for since the day she was born. Christopher's breath shook as he whispered, What is that? Rebecca looked at him with trembling eyes. Love, sir, she said. The love you are too afraid to give. The room went silent, and everything changed in that moment. The moment Christopher Taylor spoke those shaking words. Millionaire discovers his maid breastfeeding his baby. The air inside the mansion felt heavy, like the walls themselves had stopped breathing. Rebecca stood frozen in the soft light of the living room, holding baby Lily close to her chest. Her hands trembled, her lips trembled, yet she did not let Lily slip from her arms. The baby was quiet, resting like she had finally found a place where her tiny heart could breathe. Christopher stood a few steps away from them, his face pale, his voice low and uneven. Rebecca, what have you done? His words were not shouted, but they carried the kind of pain that cuts deeper than anger. Rebecca looked down at Lily, then at him, her voice barely a whisper. Sir, please, let me explain. Explain what? Christopher asked, moving closer, his voice rising with confusion and fear. I leave this house for 2 days, and I return to find my maid feeding my child like this. His voice cracked as he pointed at Lily, sleeping quietly on her chest. How did this even happen? Rebecca tightened her hold on the baby, her eyes filling with tears she tried hard to hide. Sir, Lily was crying for hours. She could not settle. She could not breathe well. I tried everything. And you think this is the answer? Christopher asked, struggling to understand the scene in front of him. Rebecca, you crossed a line that cannot be crossed. Rebecca shook her head slowly, her voice trembling. Sir, I know what it looks like. I know it seems wrong. But I swear, she was shaking, she was turning red, her chest was rising too fast, and my body reacted before I could think. Christopher stared at her, confused, scared, hurt, and angry all at the same time. Your body reacted, he repeated, barely able to understand her words. So you fed her like she was your child. Rebecca closed her eyes for a moment, tears slipping down her cheeks. No, sir, she whispered. I fed her because she needed comfort, and she found it with me. Silence filled the mansion, heavy and painful. Christopher looked at Lily again, and it shocked him that she was not crying. For weeks, the child had been restless. She never settled, never held still. She screamed until her tiny voice cracked and faded into weak cries. Nurses had quit. Doctors had been confused. Nothing worked. But now, in the arms of this strange woman, the baby was peaceful. It made no sense, and that made it hurt even more. Why is she calm with you? He asked quietly, his voice no longer angry but defeated. Why not with me? I am her father. Rebecca looked at him with eyes full of something he had not seen in a long time. A deep sadness mixed with a truth she wished she did not have to say. Because she feels something from me, sir, she whispered. Something she has been crying for since the day she entered this world. And what is that? He asked, though part of him already feared the answer. Rebecca swallowed hard, then spoke softly. Love, sir. She feels the love you are too afraid to give. Those words cut through him like a blade. He stepped back, as if her voice had pushed him. He felt the room tilt, felt something break inside his chest, something he had kept locked away since the night his wife, Laura Taylor, died. Laura, with her warm smile and soft laugh. Laura, who filled their Texas mansion with jazz music and bright colors. Laura, who held his face with gentle hands when he was stressed from business meetings. Laura, whose last breath came after she whispered to their newborn daughter, "You will always be loved." That memory alone was enough to bring him to his knees, but he never allowed himself to fall. He held it all inside, the fear, the grief, the emptiness. He worked long hours. He avoided the nursery. He avoided the sound of Lily's cries, because every cry reminded him of what he lost. He had seen business deals collapse. He had lost millions before. He had been betrayed by partners. He had faced the world with a strong back, but nothing ever broke him the way Lily's weakness did, the way her tiny hands reached out for something he could not give, the way her cries filled the house at night like a voice calling for a mother who never came back. And now, standing here, he saw that the comfort his daughter needed, the comfort he failed to give, came from the arms of a woman he barely knew. It felt like a wound, a punishment, a reminder. Rebecca looked down again, kissing Lily's head softly. The baby made a small sound, a soft little breath that showed she felt safe. Christopher felt something tighten in his throat. "Give me my daughter," he said quietly. Rebecca hesitated. Not because she wanted to disobey, but because the moment she loosened her arms, Lily began to whimper, her body tensing again. The sound was soft at first, then grew louder as Christopher reached forward. The baby's cry rose slowly, like a small wave building strength. Rebecca looked at him, her voice shaking. "Sir, she is not ready yet." "I said give her to me," he insisted, though fear trembled in his voice. Rebecca gently passed Lily to him, and as soon as the baby left her chest, her arms flailed, her face turned red, her breathing quickened. Then the cry came, sharp, painful, desperate, like a scream from a heart too young to understand loss. Christopher held her awkwardly, trying to calm her, but her cries only got louder. "Lily, please," he whispered, almost pleading. "I am your father." But she cried harder. Rebecca looked away, tears running down her face, her hands shaking from the urge to reach for the child again. Christopher tried rocking her, tried holding her close, but nothing worked. And with every cry, his own heart broke more. For the first time, he felt the full weight of his failure. He could run a company. He could move millions. But he could not make his daughter stop crying. Rebecca whispered from where she stood. "She is calling for the comfort she felt in my arms. She is calling for something you keep locked inside your heart." Christopher looked at her, his face filled with pain, and for the first time in months, he felt truly helpless. Christopher stood in the center of the living room, holding Lily as she cried with a pain that felt too heavy for such a small body. Her cries echoed through the walls, shaking his heart until he felt he could not breathe. Rebecca stood a few feet away, her hands pressed together tightly, her eyes full of sorrow as she watched the scene unfold. She wanted to help, but she knew her place, and she feared making things worse. "Please, sir," she whispered gently. "You are holding her too stiff. She feels your fear." Christopher turned sharply. "I am afraid, because I do not understand my own child," he said, his voice tight with shame. "Every time I touch her, she cries. Every time you touch her, she finds peace. What kind of father does that make me?" Rebecca closed her eyes for a moment, breathing slowly, as if she was trying to gather strength. "Sir, grief changes people. Pain closes the heart without warning. Lily feels what lives inside you. Her words were soft, but they were the truth. And the truth always hurts the deepest. Christopher looked down at the crying baby, his hands trembling. I tried, he whispered, more to himself than to her. I really tried. I hired nurses, doctors, people with training. I read books, I watched videos, but nothing worked. Rebecca stepped closer without touching him. She does not need training or books, sir. She needs a feeling. She needs warmth. She needs calm. She needs a heart that is open. And you think mine is not? He asked quietly. Rebecca lowered her head. I think your heart is hurting too much to give what she needs. Lily cried louder, arching away from his chest, her small hands shaking in the air as if she was reaching for something she could not see. Christopher tried again to rock her, but his arms were stiff and unsure. Please, sir, Rebecca said softly. Let me hold her for one moment. Christopher hesitated. He wanted to say no. He wanted to prove to himself that he could be enough for his daughter. But the cry that left Lily's mouth broke him completely. He felt helpless. He felt lost. He felt like a stranger in his own child's life. Slowly, painfully, he handed Lily back to Rebecca. The moment she touched Rebecca's chest, the baby's cries softened. Her little face relaxed. Her hands stopped trembling. Her breathing became slow and steady. It happened within seconds, and the sight hit Christopher so hard that his knees almost gave out. Rebecca held Lily close, whispering a soft comfort. It is all right, sweet one. You are safe. Your little heart is safe. The room grew quiet, except for the gentle sound of Lily's breathing. Christopher wiped his face quickly, turning away so Rebecca would not see the tears gathering in his eyes. I do not understand this, he whispered, his voice almost breaking. She is my daughter. My wife died giving birth to her. Why can I not comfort my own child? Rebecca looked at him with compassion, not pity. Sir, Lily is not rejecting you. She is calling for something she remembers, something she knew in the womb. Your wife, Laura, carried her with love, warmth, and a calm heart. When she left the world, Lily lost the first home she ever knew. You lost her too, but you buried your pain to survive. Lily is crying for the softness that left with Laura. The words pulled Christopher's heart apart. He had avoided Laura's name for months. Hearing it now felt like a door opening to a room he feared to enter. He turned toward Rebecca, his voice shaking. Why you? Rebecca lowered her eyes. Because I lost a child too, sir. Because my body remembers. Because when Lily cries, something in me wakes, something I cannot control. She paused, her voice trembling. I know what it feels like to hold a child who needs more than the world can give. I know the fear of losing that child. My heart answers her because it remembers the pain. It remembers the love. Christopher stared at her, stunned. He had never asked about her life. He had never cared to know. And now, hearing her speak, he understood that the woman standing in front of him carried a grief he could not even imagine. He took a breath, holding onto the back of the chair, as his legs weakened. Rebecca, he whispered, I did not know. You were not supposed to know, sir, she said gently. I came here to work, not to bring my pain into your home. But Lily felt it. Children feel things adults try to hide. Lily made a small sound, resting peacefully, her tiny fingers touching Rebecca's blouse. The sight hurt Christopher more than any word ever could. It was like watching someone else fill the place he had been trying so hard to reach. He turned away, walking slowly toward the window, his shoulders heavy. I failed her, he whispered to the glass. I failed both of them. Rebecca shook her head quickly. No, sir, you did not fail. You are hurting. Pain does not make you weak. It makes you human. But Lily needs healing, and she needs it now. If her cry reaches my heart, let me help until your heart is ready. Christopher faced her again, breathing shakily. People will judge this. They will not understand what they see. I do not care about people, Rebecca said quietly. I care about this child, and I care about saving her before her cries become wounds she will carry forever. Her words were true, but they also carried danger. A line had already been crossed, and the world outside the mansion would not understand why. Christopher rubbed his forehead, closing his eyes. I need time to think, he said, his voice empty and tired. Rebecca nodded and turned toward the hallway to take Lily back to the nursery. But as she walked away, Christopher stared at their backs, a cold fear growing in his stomach, a fear that this moment would not end here, a fear that something was coming that he could not stop. And deep inside his heart, he felt a storm rising, a storm that would soon break everything apart. An odium as recess. Christopher did not sleep that night. He sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the dark room that once held Laura's soft laughter. He could still hear her voice in the walls, the way she used to hum before sleeping, the way she whispered, "We will raise her together, Chris." Now he sat alone, with a heart full of fear, and a house full of silence. In the nursery down the hall, Rebecca sat in the rocking chair, holding Lily close, humming a soft lullaby. Lily's eyes were closed, her small body finally calm, her breathing slow and steady. Every sound of Rebecca's gentle voice drifted through the house and reached Christopher, cutting him in places he had kept hidden from the world. In the morning, tired and drained, Christopher called Rebecca into his study. She came in with Lily resting on her shoulder, still asleep. Christopher stood behind his desk, his eyes red, his posture stiff, like a man fighting himself. "Rebecca," he said quietly. She stopped a few steps away, holding Lily protectively. "Yes, sir," she answered. Christopher looked at the baby first, then at Rebecca, then back at the baby again. His voice trembled. "What happened yesterday cannot happen again." Rebecca lowered her eyes. "I understand, sir," she whispered. "No," Christopher said, his voice rising with pain. "You do not understand. The world will not understand what they saw. People judge quickly. They see what they want to see. This is dangerous for you, and for Lily." Rebecca nodded, but her heart sank. "Sir, I did not do it to harm anyone. I only wanted to save her." "I know," Christopher said, pressing his hand to his forehead. "I know your heart. I know you were trying to help. But I cannot let this continue. It is too much. It is too confusing. It crosses too many lines." Rebecca felt her knees weaken, but she kept her voice steady. "Sir, if you want me to stop, I will stop." Christopher shook his head slowly. "It is not only about stopping. Rebecca, I think it is best if you leave." Her breath broke in her chest. "Leave," she repeated faintly. Christopher swallowed hard, unable to meet her eyes. "Yes. Pack your things. I will pay you in full. But you need to go before the end of today." Rebecca's hand tightened around Lily's back. Tears filled her eyes, falling silently. "Sir, please, not like this," she whispered. "Do not take her from me without letting me say goodbye." Christopher closed his eyes, pained. "No, it is better this way," he said softly. Rebecca let out a sound that was not a cry, but something deeper, something that came from a wounded place in her heart. She kissed Lily's forehead, again and again, whispering, "I am sorry, my little one, I am so sorry." Christopher turned away as she walked out of the room, because he could not bear to see her tears, or the way Lily's sleeping face rested with such trust on her shoulder. By afternoon, Rebecca was gone, and the house changed instantly. That evening, Lily began to cry again. At first, it was a soft cry, nothing unusual, but it grew louder, sharper, filled with panic. Christopher rushed to the nursery, trying to hold her, trying to calm her, but her cries only grew worse. Her small face turned red, her tiny fists clenched tight, her breath fast and painful. "Lily, please, Christopher whispered, his voice shaking. "I am here. I am trying." But she cried harder. For hours she cried, refusing the bottle, refusing the pacifier, refusing every attempt he made to comfort her. Her cry was not normal. It was a cry of loss, a cry of fear, a cry from a heart too young to understand why the arms that made her feel safe had suddenly disappeared. By midnight, Christopher was desperate. He called the nurse, he called the doctor, he called anyone who might know what to do, but nothing worked. "Sir," the nurse said quietly, "this child is breaking down. She is crying for someone. She is losing strength." Christopher sank into the rocking chair, holding Lily with trembling arms as she cried against his chest. His tears fell on her soft hair. "I am sorry," he whispered. "I did not know. I did not listen. I failed both of you." Then a memory rose in his mind, a memory of Laura holding her pregnant belly and saying, "She will need a gentle heart, Chris. Promise me you will give her that." He had not kept that promise. In the early hours of the morning, Christopher walked into the bedroom he once shared with Laura. Her things were still there. The small piano, the scarf she used to wear, the wooden box she kept hidden in the closet. His hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a letter, written in Laura's soft handwriting. "Chris, if you are reading this, it means I did not come home. I want you to know you are not alone. Someone will come into Lily's life who can help you. Someone with a mother's heart. A woman named Rebecca. I met her once, before our daughter was born. She lost a child, and her heart carries a love that never dies. If you ever feel lost, trust her. Trust her with our child. She can give the comfort I can no longer give." Christopher's breath broke. He felt the room spin. His tears fell onto the paper as he clutched it to his chest. Laura had known. Laura had chosen Rebecca long before he even understood her presence. He stood up slowly, his heart pounding with fear and regret. He grabbed his keys, rushed to the car, and drove straight to Rebecca's small home by the edge of town. When she opened the door, she looked fragile, like someone holding her heart in her hands. "Sir," she whispered, surprised to see him. Christopher held out the letter with shaking hands. "I was wrong," he said, his voice weak. "I should have trusted you. I should never have sent you away. Lily needs you. I need you. Please, Rebecca, come back." Rebecca pressed her hand to her mouth as tears filled her eyes. She looked at the letter, then at him, then at the child, crying faintly in the car seat behind him. "Are you sure?" she asked softly. "Yes," Christopher said, his voice breaking. "Come home with us." Rebecca stepped forward, placed her hand gently on Lily's head, and the baby's cry softened instantly. She looked up at Christopher with trembling eyes. "Then let me help you raise her," she whispered. And in that moment, the healing began. Dear viewers, this story shows how pain can blind us, and how love can enter our lives through people we never expected. Christopher was drowning in grief. Rebecca was living with a broken heart, and baby Lily was crying for a comfort she could not explain. Yet, in the middle of all that sadness, their lives touched, and something beautiful began. Sometimes, God sends healing through strangers, through gentle hands, through a heart that understands our pain. Christopher did not know how to love his child at first, but Rebecca's presence helped him find the father he was meant to be. And Lily, who suffered in silence, finally found peace in the arms of someone who cared. Dear viewers, tell us in the comments where you are watching from and what lesson you learned. If this story touched you, please like, subscribe, and share. And if you want more emotional stories from us, comment "more stories," and we will bring you the next one. 3 questions for you. 1. Do you think Rebecca was meant to enter their lives? 2. What would you have done if you were in Christopher's place? 3. Which moment in the story touched your heart the most? Thank you, dear viewers, for watching.